The radio has been silent for 47 minutes. Staff Sergeant Alexa Monroe sits in the Tactical Operations Center, her headset pressed tight against her ears, listening to static that should be filled with voices. Should be filled with status updates from Delta Team 3, 12 elite operators conducting a high-value target raid 40 kilometers inside hostile territory. 47 minutes of nothing. Raven 6, this is TOC. Request status update, over. Alexa keeps her voice professional, controlled, but her hand tightens on the microphone. This is the 8th attempt to raise them. Static answers. Around her, the operations center continues functioning. Other missions, other teams, other frequencies buzzing with normal traffic. But Delta Team 3's frequency is dead air. The operations officer approaches her station, his face tight with concern. Monroe, how long since last contact? 48 minutes, sir. Last transmission was objective secured, beginning exfil, then nothing. Equipment malfunction? Negative, sir. I had solid signal strength. They were 5 by 5 until they just stopped transmitting. The officer makes a decision that sends ice through Alexa's veins. Alert the Quick Reaction Force. Delta Team 3 is officially missing. Missing. 12 of America's most elite soldiers disappeared into a war zone. The QRF, Quick Reaction Force, deploys within 10 minutes. Their mission, locate Delta Team 3, determine status, extract if possible. The operations center tracks them through the same mountains toward the same objective. 20 minutes later, the QRF commander's voice crackles through Alexa's headset, and what he says makes her blood run cold. TOC, Razor 1. We've got multiple enemy ambush positions between us and Delta's last known location. We're taking heavy fire. We cannot advance. Repeat, we cannot reach Delta Team 3. Alexa looks at the map on her screen. Delta Team 3's last known position is marked in red, 40 kilometers inside enemy territory, surrounded by hostile forces, with no communication and no rescue force able to reach them. The operations officer is already coordinating alternatives, air support, additional ground forces, diplomatic channels, all of which will take hours or days. Delta Team 3 doesn't have hours. Alexa looks at her radio equipment, looks at the map, looks at the M4 carbine leaning against the wall beside her workstation, the weapon she's carried for 6 years but only fired on qualification ranges. She's just a radio operator. Her job is to stay in the air-conditioned operations center, relay messages, coordinate communications. She's not infantry. She's not special operations. She's never been in actual combat. But she knows something nobody else in this operations center knows. She speaks the local dialect fluently. She's memorized every route and terrain feature in this sector from 6 months of studying maps, and she knows exactly where Delta Team 3 would go if they were trying to evade and survive. Alexa makes a decision that will either save 12 lives or end hers. She stands, grabs her rifle, and walks toward the exit. Monroe, where are you going? The operations officer calls. To bring them home, sir. Before I show you how a radio operator walked 40 kilometers into a war zone alone, found 12 missing Delta operators, and fought her way back through enemy territory, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from and hit subscribe. Because this story proves that courage isn't about your job title. It's about what you do when lives depend on you. Now let's get into it. The decision. Staff Sergeant Monroe, you are not authorized to leave this facility. Major William Kensington blocks Alexa's path to the exit, his face a mixture of anger and disbelief. Sir, with respect, Delta Team 3 has been missing for 52 minutes. The QRF can't reach them. Air support is 30 minutes out minimum. By the time any authorized rescue reaches their position, they could be captured, killed, or moved to a location we'll never find. That doesn't authorize you, a communications specialist, to walk into a combat zone alone. Alexa meets his eyes with complete certainty. Sir, I'm not asking for authorization. I'm informing you of my actions. Delta Team 3 is out there. I know where they are. I know how to reach them, and I speak Pashto fluently. which means I can move through that terrain without triggering every checkpoint between here and there. You've never been in combat. Neither had any soldier before their first firefight, sir, but I've been coordinating combat operations for 6 months. I know the terrain. I know the enemy patterns. I know where Delta would go if they were trying to evade. She adjusts the M4 carbine across her chest, and I know I'm the only person in this facility who can reach them before it's too late. Kensington stares at her, calculating. The rule book says no. Common sense says no. But desperation and the ticking clock say maybe she's right. If I authorize this, and that's a huge if, you're not going alone. We'll send, sir, anyone you send will be American soldiers who don't speak the language and will draw attention at every checkpoint and village. I can blend in. I can talk my way through situations that would require them to fight. Solo infiltration is the only option that has a chance. This is insane. Yes, sir, but it's the only chance they have. Kensington makes the kind of decision that could end his career. 48 hours. If you're not back in 48 hours, we're sending everything we have to find you and them. And, Monroe, if this works, I'm recommending you for every medal I can think of. If it doesn't work, he doesn't finish the sentence. Understood, sir. I'll bring them home. 20 minutes later, Alexa is in a nondescript vehicle heading toward the last checkpoint before enemy-controlled territory. She shed her uniform for local civilian clothes, covered her hair with a headscarf, and hidden her M4 carbine under a blanket in the vehicle's cargo area. Her cover story is simple. She's a local woman returning to her village after visiting family. Her fluent Pashto will sell the story. Her knowledge of local customs will reinforce it. And if anyone looks too closely, her carbine has a suppressor and 30 rounds of very convincing arguments. The checkpoint guard waves her through without much interest. A woman traveling alone isn't unusual, and she doesn't match the profile of a threat. Within 10 minutes, she's past the last friendly position and deep into territory where every person she encounters could be an enemy combatant. Alexa drives for 30 minutes before abandoning the vehicle in a ravine where it won't be immediately visible. From here, she's on foot. She checks her equipment, M4 carbine with suppressor and 4 spare magazines, combat knife, water, minimal medical supplies, GPS unit, and a backup radio. 70 pounds of gear she'll be carrying for 40 kilometers through hostile territory. Most soldiers train for months to operate like this. Alexa has 6 hours of YouTube videos and a lot of determination. She starts walking. Into enemy territory. The first 2 hours are the easiest. Alexa moves through terrain she's studied on maps for 6 months, following routes that avoid villages and known enemy positions. The mountains are beautiful in a harsh, unforgiving way. All rock and scrub vegetation under a sky so clear it feels like you could reach up and touch it. She maintains steady pace, conserving energy, stopping every 20 minutes to hydrate and check her map. Her M4 stays ready, selector switch on semi-automatic, but she hopes desperately she won't need to use it. The temperature is brutal, 40 degrees Celsius in the afternoon sun. Alexa's civilian clothes help her blend in but offer no protection from the heat. Sweat soaks through her layers and she's burning through water faster than she'd planned. She rations carefully, knowing dehydration could kill her as surely as enemy bullets. At hour 3, she encounters her first problem. A goat herder with his flock blocking the trail she needs to use. Alexa's hand tightens on her rifle, concealed under her shawl. If he's just a herder, talking will work. If he's an enemy combatant using the herder disguise, this could go badly. "Salam," she calls out in Pashto, keeping her voice light and feminine. The herder looks up, surprised to see a woman alone in the mountains. "Salam, where are you going?" "To my village. My brother is sick." The herder studies her, suspicious but not hostile. His weathered face shows decades of life in these mountains. "This trail is dangerous. There are soldiers nearby, Americans." "I know. That's why I'm taking the mountain route instead of the road." He nods, accepting this logic. Local women often take circuitous routes to avoid military checkpoints and patrols. "Be careful. There was shooting earlier, near the old fortress. Many soldiers, much fighting." The old fortress. Alexa knows exactly where he means. It's 3 kilometers from Delta Team 3's last known position. This confirms they made it to the objective area before things went wrong. Thank you for the warning. May Allah protect you. And you, sister. She walks past him, heart pounding, expecting at any moment for him to call out or raise a weapon, but he simply returns to his goats, and Alexa continues up the trail. The encounter reminds her that not everyone in this territory is an enemy combatant. Many are just civilians trying to survive in a war zone, but distinguishing between the two could mean the difference between life and death. At hour 5, she's climbing through rocky terrain when she hears the sound every soldier dreads, voices speaking Arabic, getting closer. Alexa drops behind a boulder, her M4 coming up to her shoulder. Through a gap in the rocks, she sees 4 fighters moving along the trail below her, all armed with AK-47s, all moving with the confidence of men in their own territory. They're speaking loudly, not maintaining tactical discipline, not professional military, probably local militia. Their weapons are well maintained, but their movements are casual, undisciplined. These aren't special forces. They're fighters who've gotten comfortable because they haven't faced serious opposition recently. She has 2 choices: hide and hope they pass, or engage and risk alerting every enemy fighter in the area. The decision is made for her when one of the fighters decides to climb up to her position, probably to get a better view of the valley. He's 10 meters away and closing when he spots her. For a frozen second, they stare at each other, him trying to process why there's an armed woman in American gear in these mountains, her calculating whether she can talk her way out of this. His hand moves toward his rifle. Alexa fires first. The suppressed M4 makes a sound like a harsh cough. 3 rounds, center mass from 10 meters. The fighter drops without ever getting his weapon up. The other 3 fighters below react immediately, shouting, bringing their weapons up, searching for the threat they can't see. Alexa doesn't give them time to think. She engages the second fighter, 3-round burst. He falls. Third fighter, she transitions smoothly, fires, watches him spin and drop. The fourth fighter is smarter. He's already diving for cover, and Alexa's shots spark off rocks where he was a moment before. She changes position immediately, moving to her right, finding new cover. The fourth fighter pops up and sprays AK fire in her general direction, not aimed, just suppressive fire. Bullets whine off rocks, fragments stinging her exposed skin. Alexa waits, patient, watching his position through her sights. He has to reload eventually. When his magazine runs dry and he drops to reload, Alexa has a 2-second window. She puts her sights on his position and waits for him to pop back up. He does. Alexa fires, 3 rounds. He falls and doesn't move. 4 enemy fighters down in under 30 seconds. Alexa's hands are shaking. Her heart is pounding so hard she can hear it in her ears. She just killed 4 people. 4 human beings who were alive 30 seconds ago and are now dead because of her. She'd trained on ranges, shooting paper targets and steel silhouettes. Nothing prepares you for the reality of taking a human life. Nothing prepares you for the way bodies fall, the sounds they make, the knowledge that you ended someone's existence. But she doesn't have time to process that. Gunfire carries in these mountains. Every enemy fighter in the area will have heard it and will be responding. She needs to move. Now. Alexa runs, finding Delta Team 3. At hour 7, Alexa is exhausted, terrified, and close to Delta Team 3's last known position. She's traveled 40 kilometers through enemy territory, killed 4 enemy fighters, talked her way past 2 checkpoints using her fluent Pashto, and hidden from at least 6 enemy patrols. Her water's nearly gone. Her legs are cramping from the sustained movement through mountainous terrain. The adrenaline that carried her through the earlier engagement has worn off, leaving her shaky and nauseous. And she still hasn't found Delta Team 3. She's studying her map, trying to think like a Delta operator who's been compromised and is trying to evade, when she hears it. 3 rifle shots in rapid succession coming from a ravine 200 meters east. Not random fire. That's a signal pattern. Delta operators use distinctive shot patterns to identify themselves to friendly forces. Alexa moves toward the sound, rifle ready, expecting ambush at any moment. Her training, limited as it is, screams at her that this could be a trap. Enemy forces could have captured a Delta operator and forced him to signal, drawing in rescue attempts. But she came this far. She has to check. What she finds makes her heart leap. 11 Delta operators dug into defensive positions in a narrow ravine, wounded but alive. "American," she calls out in English, keeping her rifle pointed at the ground. "I'm friendly. Staff Sergeant Alexa Monroe, communications from TOC." For a moment, nothing. Then a voice, rough, exhausted, suspicious. "Monroe? The radio operator?" "Yes. Don't shoot. I'm coming in." She moves into the ravine and finds Captain Marcus Webb, Delta Team 3's commander, along with 10 of his operators. Several are wounded, field dressings visible, faces tight with pain. All look like they've been through hell. Blood stains the rocks. Empty magazines litter the defensive positions. These men have been fighting for survival. "What the hell are you doing here?" Webb demands, though there's amazement under the anger. "Your radio went silent. QRF couldn't reach you. I came to bring you home." "You came alone? Through 40 clicks of enemy territory?" "Yes, sir." Webb stares at her, processing this insanity. He's a 15-year Delta veteran who's seen impossible things, but this might top the list. Then, "Where's Jackson?" He's asking about the 12th team member. "We lost him when we got ambushed," one of the operators, Sergeant Rick Morrison, says quietly. "He was hit in the initial contact, took a round through the neck. We couldn't recover his body before we had to displace. Enemy was overrunning our position." Alexa's heart sinks. She came for 12. She can only save 11. "I'm sorry." Webb shakes his head, refocusing. Grief can come later. Survival comes first. "Monroe, we appreciate you coming for us, but you need to understand the situation. We're pinned in this ravine. At least 40 enemy fighters are searching for us. We've got 3 seriously wounded, limited ammunition, and our radio was destroyed in the ambush. We've been trying to evade, but they've got the routes out blocked." "How many rounds do you have left?" "Maybe 800 total across the whole team. Not enough for a sustained firefight." Alexa looks at the tactical situation and makes a decision. "Okay, I've got a plan. It's crazy, but everything about today has been crazy. Let's hear it. I've been moving through this area for 7 hours. I speak Pashto fluently. I've talked my way past checkpoints and patrols. The enemy is looking for 12 American soldiers. They're not looking for a local woman. What are you suggesting?" "I create a diversion. Draw the enemy search away from your position. While they're focused on me, you move your team through the gap I create and head for the extraction point." "That's suicide." "No, sir. It's tactics. I'm more mobile alone than your team is with wounded. I can move faster, hide easier, and if I have to fight, I've got surprise on my side because they're not expecting it." Morrison shakes his head, but there's respect in his eyes. "Captain, she walked 40 clicks through enemy territory to reach us. She's killed at least 4 enemy fighters based on the gunfire we heard. She's earned the right to make crazy suggestions." Webb looks at Alexa with new respect. "You killed 4 enemy fighters?" "Yes, sir. About 2 hours ago. Close-range engagement. They're not professional military, but they were armed and motivated." "Jesus Christ. Okay, Monroe, what exactly is your plan?" "There's a village 3 clicks northeast of here. Enemy fighters are using it as a staging area. I've been watching them. I'm going to hit that village, make a lot of noise, and make them think it's your team trying to break out in that direction. When they commit forces to respond, you move your team southwest through the gap and head for extraction. That puts you alone against 40-plus enemy fighters. I don't plan to stay and fight, sir. I hit them, create chaos, and disappear. By the time they figure out what happened, you're gone, and I'm moving to a secondary extraction point." Webb studies her for a long moment. He's commanded Delta operators, the best of the best, for years. He's seen courage in countless forms. But this radio operator, who walked alone through enemy territory to save his team, is showing the kind of raw determination that can't be taught. This is the most insane plan I've heard in 15 years of special operations. "Yes, sir. And it's probably our best chance." He makes a decision. "Okay, we do this. But Monroe, when you hit that village, you hit hard and you move fast. You create chaos and then you disappear. Don't try to be a hero. Just give us the opening we need." "Understood, sir." Alexa checks her equipment. She's got maybe 90 rounds left across 3 magazines. Not much for attacking a village full of enemy fighters, but she doesn't need much. She just needs to create enough chaos that they focus on her instead of searching for Delta. "One more thing," Webb says. "If this goes wrong, if you get captured—" "I know, sir. If I get captured, I'm on my own. No rescue mission, no negotiations. I accepted that when I walked out of the talk." "That's not what I was going to say." Webb pulls something from his vest, a small radio beacon. "If things go wrong, you activate this. We'll hear it, and we'll come back for you. Delta doesn't leave anyone behind." Alexa takes the beacon, emotion catching in her throat. This small device represents something bigger than technology. It represents a promise, a bond between warriors that transcends rank and specialty. "Thank you, sir. Thank us by surviving this crazy plan. Now, go create some chaos." The diversion. The village is exactly where Alexa's intelligence said it would be. 20 buildings clustered around a central square, with enemy fighters visible moving between structures. She counts at least 30 combatants, probably more inside the buildings. This is possibly the dumbest thing she's ever done. Alexa positions herself on a ridge overlooking the village, 300 meters out. From here, she has clear sightlines on the square and good concealment among the rocks. She checks her rifle, selector on full automatic, magazine seated, chambered round. 90 rounds total to create enough chaos that 40 enemy fighters abandon their search for Delta Team 3 and focus on her instead. No pressure. She starts shooting. The first burst catches a group of fighters standing in the square. 3-round automatic burst at 300 meters. 2 fighters fall, the third staggers. The suppressor keeps the sound from being immediately identifiable, but the impacts definitely get attention. Enemy fighters scatter, shouting, trying to find cover from a threat they can't locate. Alexa shifts her aim and fires into a different group. Another burst. More fighters falling. Now they're returning fire. AK-47s blazing away at nothing. They can't see her position, so they're just shooting toward the hills. She keeps firing. Controlled bursts. 3 rounds, shift target, 3 more rounds. She's not trying to kill everyone. She's trying to create the impression of a larger force, a coordinated attack. An enemy fighter runs toward a vehicle, probably trying to mount the heavy machine gun on the back. Alexa puts a burst into him before he can reach it. Now the village is chaos. Fighters running for defensive positions, someone firing an RPG blindly toward the hills. The rocket streaks overhead and explodes harmlessly 200 meters away. Radio traffic is probably lighting up with reports of an attack. Alexa has fired maybe 40 rounds. She's got 50 left. Time to move. She displaces to a new position 300 meters to the left, fires another magazine into the village from a different angle. Now the enemy thinks they're being attacked from multiple directions. Perfect. Alexa starts moving away from the village, heading southwest. Behind her she can hear vehicle engines starting, fighters shouting orders. The entire enemy response is focused on the village and the surrounding hills. Delta Team 3 has their opening. She's 2 kilometers from the village when she realizes her plan has one major flaw. The enemy isn't just defending the village, they're pursuing her. 4 vehicles, technical trucks with mounted machine guns, are following her trail, spreading out to cut off her escape routes. Alexa runs, fighting withdrawal. The first vehicle catches up to her in a narrow valley where Alexa has no good options for hiding. The technical, a pickup truck with a heavy machine gun mounted in the bed, comes around a bend at high speed, and the gunner spots her immediately. The heavy machine gun opens up with a sound like thunder. Rounds tear into the ground around Alexa, kicking up geysers of dirt and rock. The weapon fires so fast it sounds almost like a single continuous roar. She dives behind a boulder as bullets hammer the stone, chips flying. Her M4 feels pathetically inadequate against a vehicle-mounted weapon that can put out 600 rounds per minute. But the vehicle has one weakness. It has to slow down to navigate the rough terrain. When the technical slows to maneuver around a rock outcrop, Alexa leans out and engages the gunner. 3-round burst at 70 meters. The gunner slumps over his weapon. The driver accelerates, trying to run her down or get to a position where other fighters can engage her. Alexa switches her aim to the driver. Through the windshield, 3-round burst. The glass spiderwebs and the driver slumps. The technical veers left, crashes into a boulder, and stops. 2 fighters bail out of the bed, bringing their rifles up. Alexa engages both. Controlled bursts, center mass. They fall. She checks her magazine. 10 rounds left, 1 magazine remaining. 3 more vehicles are closing on her position. Alexa runs again, but she knows the math isn't in her favor. She's burning through ammunition, fighting a running battle she can't win. Eventually, she'll run out of bullets or run out of luck. The second vehicle appears on her flank, trying to cut her off. This driver is smarter, staying at range where his vehicle's weapons have advantage over her rifle. The mounted gun opens up. Alexa goes flat behind a low ridge as bullets tear through the air above her, so close she can feel the displacement. She's pinned. Can't move without being cut down. Can't stay here because the other 2 vehicles are closing her position. This is how it ends. A radio operator who thought she could save Delta operators, dead in a valley because she ran out of ammo and options. She thinks of Webb and his team, hopes they made it to extraction, hopes her sacrifice wasn't for nothing. Then she hears the most beautiful sound in the world, the distinctive roar of American helicopters. 2 Apache attack helicopters come screaming over the ridge, their 30mm chain guns already firing. The sound is unmistakable, a deep, hammering roar that speaks of overwhelming firepower. The technical that had her pinned explodes in a ball of flame. The other 2 vehicles try to scatter, but Hellfire missiles find them with precision that turns vehicles into burning wreckage. Alexa's radio crackles, the backup unit she's been carrying. Warrior 2, this is Thunder 1. We've got you covered. Move to Extraction Point Charlie. Fast movers are en route to sanitize this whole area. She doesn't need to be told twice. Alexa runs toward the extraction point, where a Black Hawk helicopter is already descending to pick her up. As she climbs aboard, exhausted legs barely able to pull her into the aircraft, the crew chief grins at her through his flight helmet. Ma'am, I don't know what the hell you did, but half the enemy forces in this sector are chasing you, and Delta Team 3 just reached friendly lines 5 minutes ago. Whatever you did, it worked. You're a damn hero. Alexa collapses into the seat, exhausted, terrified, and alive. Her hands won't stop shaking. Her ears are ringing from gunfire. Her body aches from 7 hours of movement through hostile terrain, but Delta Team 3 is safe. I just did my job, she says. I brought them home. The aftermath. The debriefing takes 6 hours. Alexa walks command through every decision, every engagement, every moment of the 12-hour infiltration and extraction. Intelligence officers record every detail about enemy positions, tactics, and numbers. Medical personnel check her for injuries, dehydration, minor cuts and bruises, but nothing serious. Major Kensington listens with an expression that cycles between amazement, horror, and reluctant respect. When she finishes, he's quiet for a long moment. Staff Sergeant Monroe, you violated direct orders. You left your assigned position without authorization. You conducted a solo infiltration mission 40 kilometers into enemy territory with no training for that kind of operation. You engaged multiple enemy forces with minimal ammunition and no support. Yes, sir. And you saved 11 Delta operators who would otherwise have been killed or captured. You created a diversion that allowed them to reach friendly lines. You killed or wounded at least 15 enemy combatants and diverted 40 more away from Delta's position. He pauses. That was the most insane, reckless, courageous thing I've seen in 25 years of service. Sir, I'm recommending you for the Silver Star and a court-martial, probably in that order. Sir, the court-martial will be for violating orders and conducting unauthorized operations. It'll be quietly dropped once the paperwork goes through proper channels, but it needs to be there for the record because what you did was completely outside regulation. He almost smiles. The Silver Star is for the fact that you saved 11 American lives through actions above and beyond any reasonable expectation. Captain Webb enters the room, his arm in a sling but otherwise intact. His face shows exhaustion, but also something like reverence. Major, if I may. Captain. Staff Sergeant Monroe saved my team. If she hadn't walked into that war zone, we'd all be dead or prisoners right now. Whatever recognition she gets, it isn't enough." "Noted, Captain." "Monroe, you're dismissed. Get some rest. We'll sort out the medals and paperwork later." Alexa stands, salutes, and walks out. She makes it to her barracks before the adrenaline crash hits, and she starts shaking so badly she has to sit down. She just walked 40 kilometers through enemy territory, killed at least 15 enemy fighters, drew 40 more away from a trapped friendly force, and survived when by all rights she should have died a dozen times. She's a radio operator. This isn't supposed to be her job, but she did it anyway. 3 months later, the award ceremony is small and classified. The mission details can't be disclosed publicly. But the recognition is real. Alexa stands at attention as Major General Catherine Pierce pins the silver star on her uniform. Staff Sergeant Monroe's actions exemplify the highest standards of military service. Through courage, initiative, and skill, she rescued 11 special operations personnel under circumstances that should have resulted in her death. This is what it means to be a soldier. After the ceremony, Delta Team 3 gathers around her. Webb shakes her hand firmly. "Monroe, my team owes you our lives. If you ever need anything at all, you call us." Morrison grins. "Also, you're officially an honorary Delta operator. You've got more combat experience than half our new guys now." "I'm still just a radio operator," Alexa says. "No," Webb corrects her. "You're a radio operator who walked into a war zone alone and brought 11 of us home. That's not just anything." 6 months later, Alexa receives an unusual offer. Join a classified unit that conducts high-risk operations requiring personnel who can blend into local populations, communicate in multiple languages, and handle themselves in combat when situations go wrong. The unit operates in the shadows. No official recognition, no public acknowledgement. Just mission after mission in places where conventional forces can't go, doing things that never make it into official reports. She accepts. Because she's learned something important. Job titles don't define capability. Courage does. And when lives depend on you, the only thing that matters is whether you have the will to act. 2 years after walking alone into a war zone, Alexa Monroe leads her own team on a classified operation in a different country. She's no longer just the radio operator. She's the team leader, the one making decisions, the one other operators depend on. But she never forgets where she came from, never forgets the 12 hours that changed everything, never forgets that courage isn't about never being afraid, it's about acting despite the fear. Alexa Monroe was just a radio operator until she wasn't. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories every day.